to what we think about losing our job or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. Instead of saying God is going to supply my needs.
that's
So this is
that's.
just a
Hmm.
job. I can find another job, or I'll be blessed with another job, or
Oh,
maybe
sure.
even thinking more positive than that. This
Yeah,
is a stepping stone to a better job that God
that's
has for
exactly
me.
that's
And it
that's
doesn't mean
exactly
that it's the end of the world.
that's exactly right, and that's what I said to myself. Most of the time we spend our time listening to ourselves instead of speaking to ourselves. And by
Wow.
listening, I mean we have all these negative thoughts. Research shows that the average person has around 30,000 thoughts per day. And 95% of those thoughts are thoughts that have been repeated from the previous day and the day before. And also, 80% of what we think about is negative. So, can you imagine having 30,000 thoughts per day? Almost all of them are repeated from the previous days, and 80% of them are negative. You can see how that influx of all of those negative thoughts can have a huge impact on your physical and emotional health.
Right. What was it? I remember reading and watching the movie The Secret, and it was
Hmm.
saying, I believe in the movie, how that, like you say, your thoughts can actually draw, if you have negative thoughts, you draw negative things to you. If you have positive thoughts, you draw the positive, and how
Yes.
you can actually change your life, like you say, with thinking,
Yeah.
changing your thinking, and drawing those positive, wonderful, good things that are pleasant and joyful and lovely into your life.
That's exactly right. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5, the Apostle Paul tells us to take each thought captive and bring it into obedience with God's word. And so I've cultivated the habit over the years of doing exactly that. So anytime I have a thought, I say, now wait a minute, does this thought match God's word? If it does, then I'll keep on thinking it. If it doesn't,
Mhm.
then that thought has to get up out of here. I'm not entertaining that.
Absolutely,
And that's what I mean when
absolutely.
I say if I'm thinking about money, then I go to Philippians 4:19 as an example. Or if I'm worried about something, First Peter says, "Cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you." So no matter what's going on, we have the ability. God has given us an amazing ability. Although we don't choose our circumstances, we choose our thoughts about those circumstances. And we know
Mhm.
that our thoughts about circumstances, that's what leads to stress. And so
Mhm.
we can literally choose the emotion that we want to have by choosing our thoughts. And
Mhm.
that just changes everything. But it takes a firm commitment to doing that. I was reading a
Right.
story about how I was reading a
And
story about
isn't
how
that wonderful?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
wonderful that we have the ability as humans to do that. God has given us that ability, to control our thoughts. I was reading how God
absolutely.
said he could control our thoughts, but he's God and he gives us free will. So it's a
Sure,
wonderful thing. Mhm.
sure, sure. That takes a commitment to do that. Michael Jordan is considered to be the greatest basketball player of all time, and he won 6 championships with while he played. And most people remember that, but a lot of people don't remember the fact that for 3 years in a row, the Bulls, his team, got eliminated by the Detroit Pistons. And Michael Jordan made a decision that he was going to prepare himself so that didn't keep happening. And so he started getting up early and going for a workout in the morning at 7 a.m. And pretty soon some of his teammates started to join him. They call this the Breakfast Club. But the
Uh-huh.
significant thing about that, though, Gail, was that he did it every single day. He didn't get up some mornings and say, you know what, I don't feel like doing that today. I think I'm going to sleep in. So if they traveled got into a new town at 3 a.m., he got a couple hours sleep. He still got up and he went for this breakfast club, this workout, this training, no matter what conditions he was experiencing. And so it's that same attitude that we have to take with our thought life, is to form that kind of commitment that no matter if we're tired or it's late at night or whatever it is, we have to take charge of what we think, because what we think determines how we feel, and how we feel determines what we do, and what we do not only determines our health, but also determines the quality of our life.
Exactly. So I want to give out the call-in number. We have room for one caller. If you call in now, the number is 347-945-7433. Press 1 if you have a question or comment for Mr. Vernon L. Williams. And we want to, Mr. Williams, I have to ask you this question. How is the way that men deal with stress different from the way women deal with stress? I know we're different and we all handle stress differently, but what have, in your opinion, that you've seen, how do men deal differently than women with stress?
Well, women tend to acknowledge that they're stressed. They tend to rely on each other for emotional support. Which is that's a step in the right direction. It doesn't quite get to where they need to be, but that's a beginning of why I think women deal with stress a little bit differently. But men, on the other hand, we're taught to be strong and stout and macho and so forth and so on. So that leads to denial and withdrawal and all those kinds of things. It's kind of like it's unmanly to acknowledge that there's something happening in my life that I'm not capable of handling. And so the tendency is to just bury that. And, of course, it just manifests itself through other ways, as I mentioned, angry outbursts and blaming others and all of that sort of thing. But that really grows out of this denial mentality that I don't want to be perceived as being weak by acknowledging that I'm stressed. So those are two differences I see between how women handle stress and how men handle stress.
Okay, I see. I understand that. And so what success have you had in helping men live stress-free, and what resources do you provide to help men live stress-free?
Oh, great. I had a client recently who came to me. He had been in the hospital twice. His health was just a mess. He was on all kinds of medications. His blood pressure was off the charts. And his doctors had told him, quite frankly, if you don't change, you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke or something catastrophic. I did a coaching session with him and went through the 12-step process that I mentioned. And immediately he got it. And he shortly after that got off all the medications that he was on. His blood pressure became in the normal range, and he was just doing fine. And of course he became a great advocate of the process that I used. In fact, he wound up having me his wife asked me to do a session for her because she saw the difference in him. And then later he had me come and speak to his company, do a session for his company. So that was just something that happened recently. In terms of resources that I provide, as I mentioned earlier, I do provide one-on-one coaching, and I do seminars, and I've written, as you mentioned earlier, several books, one of which is called The Power to Rejoice, 21 Days to Victory Over Your Problems. And in that book, I've captured Bible verses by topic. For example, there's a category called work. So if a circumstance that you've experienced involves being passed over for a promotion or having to take a pay cut or being laid off from your job or whatever, there are Bible verses in there that you can speak to yourself that will shift your mindset. Or if you're having health issues or you've got a situation that involves your family, there are verses there as well. And that's why the subtitle is 21 Days to Victory Over Your Problems. So there's a Bible verse for each day for 21 days to recite to yourself, to shift your mindset from being concerned, for example, about money to being assured that God's going to supply all your needs, as I mentioned, Philippians 4:19. So that's just one of the verses in the section on word about money.
Great,
so those are the resources I have. And those are all available in terms of going to my website, livestressfreerightnow.com, www.livestressfreerightnow.com. You can contact me. My email address is Vernon at vernonlwilliams.com or Vernon at Live Stress Free Right Now. My telephone number is 866-850-3354. So those are the resources, coaching, seminars, and books, and that's what I do.
Okay.
I help people
live
stress-free, not manage the symptoms.
Okay, wonderful. Can you repeat those your phone number once again slowly, because sometimes people don't write fast, and even though this show is archived, they can go back and listen to it later if they're not listening live, but many people are listening live. Okay.
Phone number 866-850-3354, and the email address is Vernon at livestressfreerightnow.com, and the website is www.livestressfreerightnow.com.
Excellent. So we are just about down on time, about 2 minutes and 41 seconds to the end of the show. So, Mr. Vernon L. Williams, do you have any final closing remarks for our listeners this morning? Words of inspiration for stress-free living, specifically for men and for all of us that are dealing with stress.
I would just repeat that stress there's a common misconception in our society that stress is inevitable and that stress is caused by our circumstances. Those are both false. Stress is not inevitable. All of us can think of people that we know who are not stressed. So stress is not inevitable, and stress is not caused by circumstances. Stress instead is caused by what we think about circumstances. And we have the God-given ability to not change the circumstances of our life. And that's where we go wrong a lot of times, of trying to change the circumstances over which we have no control. We can't control gasoline prices, the economy, the stock market. We can't control what other people say or do, but we can control our thoughts. And that's the key to living stress-free, changing our thoughts. And once we change our thoughts, we change our feelings. When we change our feelings, we change our actions. And when we change our actions, we change the quality of our life. There's no reason to have the health issues, heart disease, suppressed immune system, prostate cancer, erectile dysfunction, low sperm count, all health issues that affect men because of stress, and it's so not necessary to do that. It's totally unavoidable. It's totally avoidable.
Wow, I agree. So, listeners, men, you've heard it from Mr. Vernon L. Williams. So get busy. You know what you need to do. You know how you can contact